What is going on, New York Giants fans? D. Illa here. Some very interesting things going on around the NFL, especially after the Atlanta Falcons decided to take Michael Penix at pick number 8 with Kirk Cousins already in place. There's some things I wanted to come out and talk about in this video. It was pretty apparent last night that the Giants were trying to replace Daniel Jones with Drake May. The New England Patriots just were not budging off pick number 3. I'm sure the Giants made every single attempt within their power to go and get their quarterback of the future, the guy that they really believed in throughout this whole entire draft process. So for you Jones supporters out there who seem to think he's going to turn it around and Malik Nabers is going to make all the difference in the world for him, again, you're just out here talking through feelings and talking out your ass. So anything that you have to say, it goes in one ear and right out the other, not paying any attention to it. Look at what goes on around you. It's going to tell you all you need to know. You're trying to fight a battle that you cannot win. Any facts that you're bringing to the table aren't good enough to support your argument. So, again, with what the Atlanta Falcons just did yesterday, all you're hearing is that the Kirk Cousins camp is not very happy. None of this stuff was discussed with them prior to signing with the Falcons. Kirk Cousins was completely blindsided by this move from the Atlanta Falcons. I get why they made the move. That team's got a lot of talent, but at the same time, when you already have Kurt in place, you had a chance to draft a guy like Rome Odunze and add him to a guy like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson coming out of the backfield. I'm very surprised, regardless of Michael Penix's talent, that they decided to skip out on drafting a guy like Rome Odunze. They let him slip to a team like the Chicago Bears, who now have Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield, along with Caleb Williams as their quarterback. That NFC North is something to be reckoned with right now. The Bears might not put it all together year one, but year two, if Caleb turns into what everybody thinks Caleb could turn into, man, that team, that division is going to be a handful, man. It really is, especially if J.J. McCarthy actually turns into something. But yeah, getting back to Cousins, I'm telling you right now, considering they drafted Penix at 8, don't be surprised if Kirk Cousins is an option for this team, the New York Giants, going into 2025. Especially if these offensive line options that we brought in actually come out and play well, and Daniel Jones continues to be Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins could potentially be a guy that this team is looking at in 2025. Because at this point in the draft, we're playing the QB lottery. And in most instances, when you play the lottery, how does that work out for most people? Doesn't work out in their favor. NFL football is the same way. You try to take quarterbacks late, more times than not, they are not going to pan out for you. It's called the QB lottery. You don't hit the lottery very often. So yeah, I do believe Kirk Cousins could be a possible option for this team in 2025. It's going to be very interesting to see how that situation plays out. And Michael Penix could be the starting quarterback for that team heading into 25 for the Atlanta Falcons. And Kirk Cousins may be looking for a new home. And that new home, regardless of the contract, I'm not even going to get into any of that stuff at all. I know people are going to say, well, we're not going to have the money to sign a guy like Kirk Cousins, especially with the contract he just signed. We decided to trade for Kirk Cousins. He is getting a little bit longer in the tooth, but I do believe he could be a real option for this football team if we don't somehow land a quarterback with just complete blind luck in this draft, or we don't draft a guy in 2025 in that weak quarterback class. Another guy that I think this team could possibly take a look at if he does not get a contract extension is Jared Goff. There's a lot of talk around Detroit, maybe not this year. A lot of people in Detroit believe in Hendon Hooker. They are going to give him a real look through training camp and the preseason. And if he plays well in camp, shows something in the preseason, I think Detroit is going to continue to kind of hold off on that Goff contract and kind of see what they have in Hooker. And if they believe that they may possibly have something in Hendon Hooker, they may be a little reluctant to give Jared Goff that contract he's looking for. So therefore, he could possibly become an option in 2025 himself. Again, and this is a team that is a legit contender to win the NFC. So it would be a bold move for the Detroit Lions to just let him walk out the door. And all I've heard this offseason, and all I've heard since the time they've drafted him, is they really do believe in this guy. If they choose not to give Jared Goff the contract, regardless of that team's situation right now, even though they're on the cusp of being a real legit contender for a Super Bowl, they are on the cusp. Don't be surprised if he's an available option for the New York Giants in 2025. Because again, I don't see this team hitting on a quarterback late in this draft. That shit just does not happen, man. Your quarterbacks like your Tom Brady's, your Brock Purdy's, your Russell Wilson's, those are complete anomalies. And I hate when people use those guys for examples. Because it's like, man, how long has the NFL been in existence? And how many of these guys can you actually talk about?